wanna talk? So let's talk. Here, talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk, you wanna
Thanks for joining us here on Talk to Solomon. That's me, Stan Solomon, my co-host.
Chief Steve.
Former Police Chief Steve Davis, lawman extraordinaire. Greg Howard is a financial guru, and he joins us from the great state of Alabama. And our guest of honor is, of course, Major General Jerry Curry. Now, Greg, you let us know that you wanted to comment on what Israel should do if it's attacked. Before you start that, I want to say to you, Israel cannot wait until it's attacked. If it's attacked, it already has 2 strikes against it. It may survive, but it absolutely, if ever in the history of the world there was logic and rationale and justification for preemptive attack, the announcement's been made not once, not twice, but 1,000 times, the intention of the opposition, so they have everything on their side to attack on their terms. Go ahead, please.
Well, actually, I think my note may have gotten garbled in translation. I said what the strategy should be if Israel attacks.
Or if Israel attacks. Okay.
Yeah. My thought on that is Israel's strategy should be rather very straightforward. First of all, they should blind the command and control completely. An EMP may not be out of the question. They should certainly go after all cyber infrastructure, wiping out all command and communication that takes place, wipe out the internet. EMP would wipe out all power grids. And of course, they'll have to use conventional weapons to knock out all the nuclear facilities or nuclear production facilities. But some of these targets are very far underground and they're very, very hardened. And perhaps the general can opine on this because he's probably got, I hate to use this term, but it is truly accurate in military circles. He may have information way above my pay grade, but these structures are way below grade and they are hardened targets. So they may not be able to reach down there with explosives and or conventional explosives and wipe them out. So they may have to leave the field destroyed by some sort of denial of access weapon. In other words, leave the area radioactive with tactical nuclear weapons and leave a dirty field behind. And I'd be interested, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, because you have a major general on the show, and why not use his mind and ask him?
Well, we will ask that question of the Major General. General Curry.
I've been involved in a lot of planning over the years for things like this, and a couple of things. Number one is you really don't want to play around with making anything radioactive. I guarantee you it will get out of hand, and I guarantee you it will do something. Something will happen that you don't want to have happen. It's just a bad thing to really get into. If you start loosing nukes anywhere in the world, that opens the door for every wannabe nation around the world to start thinking about using nuclear weapons. So if Israel, and I think that they would, by the way, if Israel can refrain from using nuclear weapons, they should. I have a gut feeling they intend definitely not to use them of any kind. Now, at the same time that is happening, we have to look at the fact that Israel is in a position where they have to stop the Iranian development. But remember, it is not important to get 100% clean of all nuclear development programs. That you don't have to really do that if you're Israel. What you really have to do is you've got to be able to destroy with conventional and other kinds of means, cyber, etc. You've got to be able to destroy the ability of the Iranians to continue to develop. For example, if I was Israel, I could attack Iran, and the result of that was not that I knocked out all of their nuclear facilities, but that they were unable to reconstruct and to start back in again, rebuilding for another 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years. That's all I need, because 3 years from now, everything may have changed and we may be moving in new directions.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm listening to your sage advice. I don't believe they're going to be attacking Iran. I think they're going to be attacking Iran and a number of other countries, one of which is Pakistan, who has a true nuclear arsenal and is on the side of the Muslim morons. They'll have to attack, most likely, Egypt, most likely Tunisia and or Libya. These nations have been taken over. This will not be a single attack. They certainly will have to take on Hezbollah and the people in Gaza. They can't just attack Iran because these people, when they start that attack, will attack them. So they're going to have to plan on that and attack in a number of directions at once, or they will be defeated. Steve, your thoughts?
Well, first of all these comments are really good, and you're right on track. And the general said something I thought was very important, that Israel has to make sure this is done right away, quickly. Destroy what they need to destroy quickly. There won't be time if they don't get it done on the first round. But I think that every option should be on the table, whether it's an electromagnetic pulse device, or whether it's conventional weapons, or whether it's a dirty nuclear bomb or a clean nuclear bomb, and put it all in their strategy, because they have to win this. If they start this, they have to win this and eradicate their enemy, because the other option is to get eradicated, and that's their only options.
Greg?
Well, I don't know that they'll have to worry too much about organized military attacks from Tunisia, or Libya, for example, or from Egypt at the moment. They're pretty disorganized and they have some issues. And I don't know that necessarily those countries want to really goad the United States into a full-blown involvement. I understand your concern, and again, I think that would be foolhardy strategy. Now, you may see some, of course, terrorism, which is nothing new to the Israelis. And again, the resources for Israel to mount this, if it looks like it would be a surgical attack on some key facilities in Iran, is, again, it's not going to be a full-blown attack, as I understand it, against all of Iran. It's not like going to take out the whole military structure of Iran. They're looking mainly to do similar to what they did in the past, of taking out key nuclear facilities surgically, quickly, and just like I like the general's comments of they're just going to damage the infrastructure to the point where it is not usable for a few years. In other words, turn the clock back and allow for time of resetting and allow for things to cool off while they have a chance to regroup themselves. And so I don't see that going to be an issue where they're going to have to defend themselves in 10 different directions at once. I just don't see it that way.
Well, we'll see. I do. I know people in Israel. I know military people in Israel. I know that Hezbollah and what's the other terrorist organization? Hamas have been arming with rockets, have been armed by Iran. They are waiting. Any attack from Iran would be coordinated with these groups, which are financed by and frankly controlled by Iran. And if they don't plan on that, I think they would be not served well. General?
There's no question that they got to handle Hezbollah and Hamas. That's a given. That is, any kind of plan they come up with has to, as a footnote in that plan somewhere, has to say, and here's how we handle the West Bank, and here's how we handle the peninsula, and here's how we handle Hamas, and here's how we're going to handle, whatever it is. You got to have that. That's a given. The next question is, though, do you really want to turn loose nuclear weapons? Guys, I'm telling you, you turn nuclear weapons loose there, it's Pandora's box. And the world will be into World War III. Pakistan. You take on Pakistan in something like this, my dear friends, and I got to tell you, you have a mess on your hands that nobody can fix.
Unless India jumps in and occupies them. And again, I'm not suggesting, I'd rather nobody attack anybody. That would be nice. But you can't, if you have 3 Muslims and a cool breeze, you've got war. That's simply the way it is. In fact, the next story is that they just took $150 million that Hezbollah was laundering from their drug operation. Most people don't think of Hezbollah and Hamas and Muslims as being pimps. They are. Of being drug dealers. They are. Of being gun dealers. They are. Of being all the immoral things that we think about. There's no one more immoral than Muslims that, while claiming Allah is great, are doing everything that their rule book says they shouldn't be doing. I'll start with you, Chief.
It sounds like the Democrat Party to me. That's how they operate.
Well, that's a part of Hezbollah.
But I can't believe that Obama hasn't already sent them a strong letter telling them to knock this off and leave Israel alone.
Oh, a strong letter.
I'm expecting that any day now.
Oh, and you know, he might even put postage on it. Greg?
Well, it's always been known, and that, and even back during the Bush administration, we were getting treated to ads on TV. Don't buy drugs; you're funding terrorism. Well, of course, it's always been known that drugs have been used to fund terrorism, and it brings up my concern as to why we may still be in some of these little wars over there in Afghanistan. What's the main crop over there is poppies. Okay, so. You know, we're sitting there. When I read the article that Hamas was laundering drug money, not one bone in my body was shocked. There wasn't any element of surprise there whatsoever to find out that these people were involved in immoral activities in the name of Allah. The night before 9/11, these guys were out at strip clubs paying strippers. There's nothing about these guys that screams morality.
Let's ask the general about Russia and China issuing warnings to America, don't mess with Syria. Now, I know Syria is an ally of Russia, and I know that neither Russia nor Syria has any affinity for Muslim extremists because they both deal with them in their countries. Your thoughts?
Yeah, all they want to do is cause problems for the Western world, and specifically problems for the United States of America. And they're like the Muslims. Anything they say, you can't believe it. You don't know where they're coming from, what they're up to, what their real goal, what their real plan is. There's no way to know that. These guys are bad guys. They're baddies. And they're never going to be anything other than that. And they will be constantly stirring around in the Middle East as long as they can. If the Middle East suddenly calms down and everybody is happy and everybody's quiet, everybody's peaceful, they'll be stirring up Africa. And I guess they would like to do South America, but they're not too sure they can pull that on by us and get away with it. But that's essentially the background as I see this thing. We got to avoid a major war at all costs if we can, folks.
When you say a major war, I believe that Russia, with agreement from China, might just march into Syria at Syria's invitation and take over that nation. For Assad, it beats being, decapitated or shot in the head like Gaddafi was. And I think if he doesn't feel he can survive, I think that he'll invite the Russians in. They already have tanks. They have attack helicopters. And if Russia goes in there, I think the Muslims will find a different kind of, shall we say, reception, and you might see crucified Muslims with pigs in their ears.
Yeah, they pulled that off in Afghanistan. The Russians went in. The Muslims now know how they're going to have to deal with the Russians. The Russians know how they're going to have to deal with the Muslims. It's a mess. But they're all evil. They work together. Somehow they will be managed to sort of work things out, iron things out, and they'll be able to work together. But guys, this is a mess.
Now, you said a major war. Would you define that more for us, General?
Yeah, if you've got Pakistan, for example, involved, you got India involved. That's just those two. That's a major war on your hands.
Yeah, well, that would be huge because India is the most populous country in the world. Pakistan has 250 million people, 4 of whom have IQs. So yeah, it'll be it would be hell in a both nuclear armed nations. Now let's shift gears in the few minutes we have left. There's been a protest because immigrants that are here illegally do not want to be called illegal immigrants. They want to become called undocumented immigrants. They don't think there's anything illegal about what they're doing except for our laws. So we just need to change the laws, then they're no longer illegal. By saying illegal, they're assuming that we broke a criminal law. No kidding, you did. You snuck in this country. That's against our laws. That's a criminal violation. You're a felon. But let's go around the horn. Chief?
Well, they're illegal. They came here illegally. They are illegal. But you keep calling them illegal, just call it what it is. And there's no reason not to, except for the fact that our federal government, Barack Obama and crew, want them in this country and want them to be legal voters for the Democrat Party. But again, the majority of these are illegal immigrants from Mexico, which disenfranchises people that want to come here illegally. And again, someone from Japan or another country, England or somewhere else in the world that would like to come here legally, they're being disenfranchised because of the illegal aliens that are allowed to come here and stay here illegally.
Greg?
Well, they're undocumented immigrants. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me run out and see my undocumented pharmacist for some marijuana and take my gun to the bank and take an undocumented withdrawal. And we just find everything to be undocumented and make it all cool just because we decided it's not illegal anymore. Come on, that's not even worthy of comment.
Well, if it weren't for the fact there were 10, 12 million of them, I wouldn't comment. But the fact is there are enough of them to change the outcome of this election, to change the outcome of many elections, to change whether or not health services can survive financially, whether educational services can survive financially. It's a heck of a big issue. And I believe that, listen to this, I think we should treat our undocumented immigrants the way Mexico treats their undocumented immigrants. That would be fair, would you think?
Absolutely. I'm all for that.
Right. I don't say it's not a big issue. I just say that it's absolutely ridiculous and not worthy of commenting on the stupidity of trying to change the language of what a criminal is. These people are criminals. They broke into the country. They're sponging off of the wealth and hard work of all our Americans. In the last 4 years, the average American has lost 40% of their net worth. The typical American family typical American worker is bringing home $4,000 less per capita. And these folks are breaking in here and getting a free ride. And now Hillary Clinton and Janet Napolitano cannot say why they're releasing the requirement that immigrants have to remain welfare free or leave the country. When my mother came here, she had to file letters of credit, prove she had a job, file sponsors that were going to make sure that she was going to carry her load as a taxpayer before she was even allowed into the country.
Amazing. General?
They don't have any rights. And the notion that these people will be talking to us and saying, we don't want to be called illegal. I don't care what you want to be called. The answer is we'll call you whatever we want to call you. And if you don't like it, get out of the country and don't come back.
I've always said you are a sensitive guy, and now you've proved it.
Hey, Stan, I just want to make a comment that when Greg Howard doesn't make a comment, it's the greatest comments I've heard today.
There you go. Massachusetts, the great state of taxes, they call it Taxachusetts, has, in one of the school districts, they've launched a new program that says they will give condoms to all children ages 12 and up. And if you don't want your child, you have to proactively say to them, I don't want you to give condoms to my child. But if you don't proactively do it, they will give them to 12-year-olds. I'll start with you, General. Did you ever think we would see the day that public schools believed it was in the best interest of 12-year-olds to give them condoms?
No, but public schools have persuaded me in the last couple of years that they don't have a lick of common sense. The parents in that school district ought to be running those schools, and they ought to be the ones making these kinds of decisions, along with the Attorney General of the state, for example, the great state of Massachusetts. But that's what ought to be going on, it seems to me. You run your own schools, you set your own limits for schools, and the notion that a 12-year-old should be given a condom is not only ridiculous, it's downright stupid. And it seems to me there's something criminal about this, and there ought to be some criminal punishment for it.
I believe that they're giving them condoms so that when the teachers molest them, they're less likely to impregnate them. That's just a feeling. Your thoughts, Greg?
These children are below the age of sexual consent, and that should be the end of the discussion as far as whether or not they should be handing them condoms. As far as these parents, if you don't go into that school like we did in this area a few years ago and take over and run these liberals out of your school board and run them out of your classrooms, it's your fault. We did it here locally. You want to know more about it, get in touch with me on Twitter or get in touch with me at gregwhoward.com, and we'll tell you how you do it. But we ran them out of our school district in this area, and we'll tell you how you get it done.
Well, you have to first give a damn. You have to first give a damn. And if you would sit back and allow your child to go to a school where they did that, I question, your commitment to your kids. I don't say you don't love them. I don't know that. But I question your commitment, because if you would allow your child to go someplace where rape and robbery and assaults and thefts and murders take place, they would take your child away. But if you don't send your kid to a place like that, also known as public schools, then they want to take your child away. You need to get involved. All right. I'm going to not take another topic. I'm just going to go around the horn and get some closing comments. General, I'd like your educated guess on what you see happening between now and the election, not in the election itself, but what you see happening, whether it's Israel, whether it's Egypt, whatever it might be, what you see happening.
I think all the Muslim nations, and I mean just that, all of them in the Middle East, are going to continue moving in terms of the Muslim Brotherhood. I have never seen this thing as the Arab Spring. To me, it was the Arab winter, and like a Siberian winter in Russia. I think that it's going to be unfortunate, but that's the way things are going to sort of wrap themselves up. And in the Middle East, we can expect all sorts of problems as we turn over to this Muslim government. We've never had a Middle East that was completely Muslim to the way that this one is going to be. We've always had countries like Egypt or Jordan, for example, that were run by military, or Iraq, run by military dictatorships. That's not going to happen. We're moving away from military dictatorships. The United States is determined that we move away from those kinds of things. That's the only thing that had the physical and the military power to bring justice and decency and some quiet and some order to those countries. And without that military force behind the leadership of that country, nothing good is going to happen.
We have run out of time. Major General Jerry Curry, we are honored and appreciative of your time. Look forward to having you back in a couple of weeks. God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Good night, Chief.
All right.
Good night. God bless everybody.
All right. We'll be right back with more. Greg Howard and Chief Steve will stay with us. Alan Keyes will join us. This is Talk to Solomon. Do you have a cell phone? I do. In fact, everyone I know does. There's only one problem with cell phones. They're too damn high. You remember that guy. With me is Ted Williams, one of America's experts on cell phones, and a guy who's been responsible, along with his company, for hundreds of thousands of people saving money on cell phones. Ted, thank you for joining us. Talk to us.
Well, I tell you, Stan, right now, every dollar a person can save is a dollar earned. I'm telling you, in this economy, the price of gas and the unsure situation with employment, our business is tailor-made, and our cell phone packages are tailor-made to help everyone out.
All right, let's state a few facts. Unlimited service isn't unlimited service anymore, right or wrong?
It's right for a lot of the big carriers that you're familiar with, but our company has got truly unlimited talk, text, and web. We don't slow speeds down. We don't charge you after 1 or 2 gigabytes. It's truly unlimited, running on a nationwide network with roaming options if people want it.
And to get unlimited service, which many people use today in their business, you're going to spend $120, $130, $140. How do you compare?
We've got plans that start at $20 with rollover minutes, and our truly unlimited talk, text, and web plan is $59 a month. Again, no limits on the data, and the exciting thing is you can earn, as a customer, you can earn free service by simply referring a few customers to us. That earns you free service potentially for the rest of your life.
Now, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Without paying money, without being in the business, simply if you're a customer, at whatever the customer costs are, and I assume there are no deposits or that type of thing, that if you refer a few friends and they get service, you can earn free service for yourself?
Absolutely. It's, as you said, no contract, no deposit, no credit check, and we have many payment options. They can be auto-billed, auto-debited, phone in and make your payment over the phone, or, you know, a lot of options on how to pay the bill. But truly unlimited talk, text, and web available to you for $59 a month, and if you refer a few friends, totally free.
Now, 2 other questions. You said roaming is an option. How much does it cost?
If you have unlimited nationwide roaming, it would be an additional $20 if you
So
if
you're,
you need
you're
it.
still
But-
only $79.
Correct. But you may not need it because we are on the nationwide network.
Okay. And the second thing is, do you only have dial-up phones that you have to carry in a suitcase, or do you actually have the latest and greatest Droid phones?
We have Android phones are the hottest selling items right now on our site, but we also cater to those people that all they have a need for is a simple flip phone. So you can go from, you know, from the top of the line phone to a free phone.
And are you competitive on those prices?
Absolutely. The phones, most people don't realize this, but the phone prices you hear on television are tied into contracts. We don't have a contract. So our phone, you buy it, you own it, and you pay the real price. The way you can find out how competitive it is simply ask any of those big 3 or 4 companies, what is the price of the phone if I don't have to sign a contract? And they'll tell you many of those Android phones are $400.
There you go. All right, folks, you can get more information by dialing 1-800-299-8362, or just go to cpnlive.com and click on the icon that says Get Free Phone Service. Free. Free. I can afford free. Can you?
Free is good.
Thanks.